Congressman Lou Correa has pretty much done it all in politics, won close races, lost close races, served at every level of government. And as a Democrat in Republican Orange County, he's learned to work with the other side. But can you still do it when the political divide grows wider by the day? And is compromise even possible on immigration, the wall, sanctuary cities, hot-button issues for his Santa Ana constituents? Former county supervisor, former state lawmaker, and current Congressman Lou Correa. He's next on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by...
Each new community 5 Point brings to life represents a promise delivered. Great neighborhoods are more than just places to live, they are places to connect. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming.
All your life, people talk about what's best for you. But to most people, it's just that. Talk. Unless you're with Memorial Care, a healthcare system devoted to one important thing: what's best for you.
Go wherever you want to go.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Rick Reiff, and I'm talking with Congressman Lou Correa. Lou, great to have you on.
Good to be here, Rick. Thank you very much.
We're in a heated political. It's always heated politically now, I guess, but we're in a season. It's kind of fascinating in Orange County that you have the seat that used to be the swing seat. It was the seat many years ago of B1 Bob Dornan, the Republican congressman who Loretta Sanchez upset the first time around. Second time wasn't so close. She served for a long time. You are now the holder of that seat. You won huge the last time you ran, like 70-30. So now in red Orange County, everybody's talking about all of these Republican lawmakers are getting challenges and they're fighting for their lives. And you're sitting there and nobody's even paying attention because everybody assumes you're going to just breeze in this time.
Actually, you can't assume anything. And I'm a Democrat. But I get paid to represent everybody, and I get paid to work hard. So what I do day in and day out is go out and work with folks, meet people, try to feel what they think we're doing right, what's wrong, and try to take all of that and figure out how to vote in Congress.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, if you get less than 60%, I'll buy you a drink, okay? How's
Can't
that?
think that way, but you got a deal.
Okay, all righty. So anyway, but I mean, it is kind of fascinating, the changing demographics of Orange County and how now this seat, which years ago was the swing seat, is now seen as a safe blue seat.
But the changing demographics, it's not just Orange County, not just California. I think it's the nation as a whole. Latinos today are the biggest minority in the United States. So you see a lot of changes. Does that mean ideological changes? Maybe, maybe not. Latinos are not monolith. You've got some that are conservative, progressive, and at the end of the day, a lot of blue-collar workers who just want the American dream. And what is that? Good job, education, safe streets, opportunity to send their kids to college.
And that's why I think nobody is better to talk about on the immigration issue and all the controversy there, and we're going to get into that in a little bit because you certainly have the perspective on that. But let's talk now, it's fascinating, you're in Congress now. You've served at every level, county, state, federal. What are the differences? How do you compare them? What do you notice as you move in these different tiers of government?
Well, I'll tell you, Congress is big. The United States is big. This nation is big. This world is big. When you're at the state is essentially a jurisdiction. In Congress, you're responsible for the world, the Middle East, the China Sea, Latin America, the United States. Even space. We had a lecture the other day by NASA saying near-miss asteroid collisions. And so it's a lot of work, a lot of good stuff, and my job is to take it in and vote my district. And that's the beauty.
So when you vote your district, in maybe a big world, are you still coming down to that local level? Where
That's my job. And day in and day out, that's my job, is to make sure that everybody on Main Street is represented with each and every vote. So, every special interest group in Washington has a scorecard. They're going to rank you based on what they consider important. To me, my scorecard is Main Street. And so when I go vote on something, I don't say this is good based on what they say in Washington. I vote based on, is this going to make the lifestyle of my constituents better, safer, and more productive?
Okay, so you've always had that attitude, and you've had the reputation of being somebody who can work with people on the other side. There doesn't seem to be a lot of that going on nowadays. You're now in Congress. Is it harder in Congress to work across the aisle than it is on the county or state level?
You know, the other day I was talking to a colleague of mine from the South, very conservative Republican, and he walks up to me and he says, Lou, we have to turn down the volume. We got to amp down the rhetoric. Nobody's listening to us, but there are a lot of Democrats and Republicans in the middle, and we're trying to work on issues like immigration. A lot of my colleagues from the South are saying, Lou, we need immigrants. You know, we talk about an immigration system where it's merit-based, and my colleague from the South tells me, Lou, how am I going to bring in immigrants that have to work on the farms, farm workers? How are you going to bring them in? The bottom line is the guy in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Texas, they need workers, and it's up to us to try to figure out a solution.
So what's happening? What's happening? Because I don't see it, and you don't hear about it. It doesn't sound like there's any progress being made.
You're absolutely right. The easiest thing we could do was the Dreamer solution. 80% of Americans, something like 70% of Republicans want a Dreamer solution. Can't do it. I don't know why.
Well, you have a president who says he also wants a wall, and he wants some other, that, in other words, I mean, the president, just on the Dreamers, had a proposal that sounded that would be great on its own, right? If there were nothing else attached to it. Would Trump's Dreamer proposal, was that something you would have voted for if it just came up on a straight up?
Absolutely, I would vote on it. And
so
I'll go
what
even
about,
further than that.
Right.
We passed a big omnibus bill,
Right.
big spending bill a couple of weeks ago. In it, everything that the Democrats wanted, for the most part, everything that the Republicans wanted, for the most part. One thing everybody left out was the Dreamers. And yet, I think there were more, now that I think about it, more Democrats voted for that than Republicans. Dreamers were left out. The next day, on Saturday, I believe, the president came out and said, I'm not signing this thing. I want my wall, and I want my Dreamers. And you know what? I thought to myself, I'm willing to work with this president. If that's what he wants, I'm willing to work with him on that.
So going back to the Dreamers, if you get something for the Dreamers, are you open to having something about a wall and something about restrictions on other immigration?
I am interested in working with the president in whatever way he wants to work. I'm open to discussing all the above.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, we do need immigrants in this country. We need to keep this country strong. Biggest economy in the world, the United States. 5th largest economy in the world, California. This is where we have the rub. As you said, in immigration, we haven't done anything in the United States since Ronald Reagan. I need to have a statue in my office for Ronald.
Historically, there have been times when Republicans, George Bush, John McCain, tried to do immigration reform, and then the Democrats were somewhat resistant to it. So it's gone back and forth.
It shouldn't be a Democrat or Republican issue. Right now, everybody's looking at the president saying deportations, but everybody forgets that Obama deported more individuals than any other president before him.
And how did you feel about that?
I didn't like it, and I called him out on it. He did it quietly. The president is doing it very loudly.
So how do you feel about the issue of sanctuary cities? Because as you know, in Orange County, there's blowback now in Orange County toward California's pro-sanctuary city stance. Santan, I think, is it officially a sanctuary city?
Something like that.
All right. You know, how do you feel about that?
This rhetoric, this discussion, this debate, which is very important, reminds me of 1994 and Prop 187. A lot of political jockeying that's going on right now. Remember, California has moved ahead with immigration reform. Trust Act, which is very similar to, and I voted for that, to what's going on right now in terms of the Sanctuary Cities law. DREAM Act, driver's license. We have passed all that in the past in California, but right now it's all political. So the president says we're going after California. Californians say, no, you're not. We're going to check you off. and this is the fight that
well,
we're
except
having.
you've got in Orange County, for example, some folks that are pushing back on the pushback, if you will, and are saying that you know, they're against sanctuary cities. What do you think about?
But this is like 1994. 187 started in Orange County, so it's the same thing, different day.
Well, but like on the Dreamers, as you've pointed out,
Yes.
huge majority,
Support everywhere.
particularly in California, for the Dreamers.
Yes.
Yet there are some people that are for the Dreamers who are against the sanctuary city concept because they see that as, you know, protecting criminals, people who should be deported. How do you feel about that? Is there...
Look, nobody disagrees with that. If you're here in the United States, you come to America to work hard, follow the laws, pay your taxes, so on and so forth, there should be a place for you to pursue the American dream. If you come to break the law, to hurt people, you're not welcome. The issue then becomes is the rhetoric, the spin. We did that with the Trust Act a number of years ago. You didn't see that happening a number of years ago. You see that today with the Sanctuary Cities law. So again, it's the political climate that we're in. I'm interested, okay, in having immigrants that are here to work hard the way all immigrants have worked hard. And again, if you're here to break the law, there's no room for you.
Right. How do you feel about guest worker programs and path to citizenship?
I believe people should have a path to citizenship when they come to work to this country. There's just no pathway right now for folks to get there. On the contrary, we're going backwards. We have folks right now with green cards that have served in the military, honorably discharged, break the law, deported. So we're going backwards right now.
Yeah, now you're a guy who likes to roll up his sleeves and get into these issues. I can see on sanctuary cities some people saying, okay, there's different kinds of crime. So if you commit murder or you're you know, a huge big time drug dealer, we deport you. You know, traffic violation, running a stop sign, no, that's not a reason to deport somebody, okay? Drinking, you know, drunken driving, okay, now you're getting into the gray areas. But is that where the discussion should be?
Absolutely right.
And is that happening?
Folks, it's not happening. That's where we need to sit down and say, okay, where is the line and how do we work it out? This is exactly what we should be paid to do. Let's sit down and figure this out.
And so do you get frustrated? Now be honest. On the other side, there's certainly people that are playing it for politics. On your side, are there some people who just are running up the, you know, sanctuary city, you know, flag and really aren't interested in compromising? I
think you have people that are doing that on both sides. People that are just doing it for political purposes. My concern is that person who takes care of the family in Newport Beach, that person that cooks your food, that person that does your lawn, who's not a terrorist, they're just making an honest living, is the victim. Or the person who's hiring them is the victim as well. We've got to sit down and figure this stuff out. I want to talk to the sheriff. I want to talk to my police chief. I want to talk to the immigration guys. I want to talk to my workers. I want to talk to my constituents and say, can we sit down and figure this out? We can do it. Right?
Okay.
There's a solution.
Let's talk about some of the things you've actually done. Over the years, as a supervisor and or as a state lawmaker, what's something you worked on with your Republican colleagues that moved the ball forward, that improved something that probably wouldn't have happened without some give and take?
Driver's license bill, okay? Driver's license bill in California, 2013, 2014. Stuck for 20 years in California.
What was this about? You say driver's
permitting
license?
Undocumented immigrants to have a driver's license in the state of California.
Okay.
Couldn't move it. Why? We couldn't cut a deal. What was the issue? The governor wanted us to take an amendment that said these new licenses, these ID cards are compatible, acceptable to the federal authorities.
Who was the governor then?
That was Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown, okay.
And the bill was going to die. And I said, wait a minute, guys. I told Kevin De Leon, I told Darrell Steinberg, I said, come on, guys. 20 years, I got people in my district getting pulled over, their cars getting towed, people maybe without a license taking off. This is a public safety issue. What do we need to do to get people's driver's licenses? We got some Republicans on board, we got the governor on board, we got Democrats that didn't want to take that amendment. We got it in, we passed it, we got a driver's license.
What was the Democrats' objection to doing that?
They didn't want anything on the driver's license that would distinguish it from a regular driver's license. They called it the scarlet letter.
Okay.
And to me, it's like, with all due respect, I'm seeing what's going on in my district. I want that to stop, and I want people to follow the law. I want them to drive with insurance. I want them to know how to drive. What's so magical about that?
Good example. Also, because you're a person who reaches out and that, you one time, by your Democrat leader in the Senate, you got closed out of your office or locked out of your, what was that about? They actually punished you for being too cooperative?
Yeah, then the pro tem apparently, when I was running for state Senate, I told him, I said, look, you're recruiting me to run for state Senate. I am who I am. Don't expect me to change. I get to the state Senate, he says, I don't want you to be a business Democrat, I don't want you to be a moderate. So I started hanging out with moderates, right? And because of that, I got kicked out of my office.
Moderates, what do you mean hanging out with?
I have no idea. What it means is...
No, but was there like, wasn't there like a dinner you went to or something?
That's exactly what it was.
All right. So what was it?
I got invited to a dinner with business folks, and apparently I wasn't supposed to be there. That was on a Thursday night. Monday, I get to Sacramento. I'm locked out of my office. I'm kicked out of all my committees. And so for 2 years, I wandered the desert.
Well, how long did it take you to get back in your office?
2 years. No, getting back to my office within a week.
All right.
But committee work, I was out for about 2 years.
Because you consorted with business people. That almost sounds...
It does, and it is. Say it.
Bizarre, absurd.
It's mind control. What are you talking about? You know, that's.
And so, but did it temper your behavior? Did you stop going to frequent? Did you stop hanging out with business people?
No. Later on, I voted, I guess, a way I wasn't supposed to, and I got hammered again. But you know, I like, you know, I got to come back every weekend. I come back to my district. I got a church. I look at my fellow parishioners. I go to the supermarket. I look at my constituents. I got to explain to them how I voted and why I voted the way I did. And I'm proud of my voting record.
Do you come home every weekend?
Yes, I do. Every weekend.
And during the week, this is kind of interesting. You're not the only congressperson to do this, but there aren't a whole lot of you, I don't think. You live in your office in Washington, D.C.
About 100 of us, plus minus 20, live in our offices.
There's that many now, living in the office, living in your
Ryan,
office.
Ryan, the Speaker of the House, lives in the office. Kevin McCarty from California, number 3 in the Republican side. There's probably 120.
And why do you do that?
A couple of reasons. Number one, commuting. You want to commute in the snow, in the rain, cold? No. You live in your office. You know, you pull out your bed in the morning. You take it down. You're working. It gives me about 2 more hours of work every day. And number 2, it saves on the rent. And I have to tell you, I have 4 kids in college right now. Guess what?
Now, what do you have, a per diem or something?
No, we don't have per diem,
sir.
sir.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No per diem, sir.
So, so you're saving on rent then?
I'm saving on rent and using that to pay college.
Very interesting.
But more importantly, the most precious thing we have is time. And I save a lot of time in terms of commuting, and gets me a little bit more work on a daily basis.
Okay. Now, is there anything that you have voted on since you've gotten to Congress? You're the guy who reaches across the aisle. Sometimes you've cast a vote that hasn't gone with the majority of your party. I was looking at your voting record so far in Congress, and it looks like you're pretty much or you're voting along with your party. Is there something you've done?
Well, let's hope my party feels that way. But
is there anything you've done that kind of bucked the system so far?
I wouldn't call it bucking the system. One of my goals in going to Congress, help small businesses. To me, the days like my dad, who worked at a corporation, at a company making cardboard boxes for 30 years, are gone. Now, as I close my eyes to think about my kids, they're probably going to be small business people owning their own business. And I want to make sure, for example, that they can survive as small business individuals. One of the votes I took was what we did in California. In California, we had this issue of lawsuit abuse when it came to Disabilities Act. You know, people would go in and measure the toilet in your restaurant and say, it's not high enough, it's not low enough. Boom, lawsuit, $7,000. You didn't have a chance to fix it, you just got sued, you had to pay it. I voted to fix that at the federal level to make sure that before you sue a small business person, they have a shot at fixing the problem. Then you can sue them.
Okay. Another issue that I know you're interested in, there's veterans issues and cannabis, and there's a tie in there. Explain how, where does your interest in veterans and the cannabis issue come together? I've
worked on veterans issues since I was in the Assembly and the State Senate, so I probably worked on that for about 10 years. I sit on the Veterans Affairs Committee again now in Congress. Again, my veterans in my district, a lot of them said we want cannabis. We don't want opioids, we don't want those other drugs to help us with our challenges. And so what I'm trying to do is give them the opportunity.
Can't they get it? Medical marijuana is legal in California.
Yeah, but when they go to the VA, I want to make sure that that doesn't disqualify them from federal benefits, because at the federal level, cannabis is still classified as a very, very nasty drug.
So if you're a veteran, you can't get medical marijuana at a veterans hospital.
You cannot.
But you can go to a dispensary in Santa Ana or somewhere and get it.
Dispensary in Santa Ana, and you can get your cannabis. That's
correct.
Correct.
So what's the problem? You're concerned about benefits or something?
I want to, you know, I'm hoping that eventually the VA can do research into cannabis, and they can say this is what cannabis is good for, this is what cannabis is not good for. Canada is about to legalize cannabis nationally in the next few months. Israel doing a lot of research into cannabis. We're not moving the ball ahead at all at the national level.
Right.
You got, you know, dispensaries in Santa Ana and in California can't bank it because it's illegal. So they've got all these folks driving around with thousands of dollars in cash in their car.
And the reality is, at the federal level, nothing's going to happen, right?
Nothing's going to happen at the federal level, but we got to push. And it's not only Democrats. I have a lot of Republicans that have joined in. I'm joining them. We have a cannabis caucus made up of Democrats and Republicans trying to move some good, sensible, common sense legislation. But it starts with research. What are we talking about? But if the federal government says you can't do the research, then you're stuck.
Okay. As you know, in California, the lawmakers here in California must pride themselves on the fact that they are the resistance to the Trump administration. And we're seeing it on so many levels. Now with the EPA, we've got a big fight going on because the federal government wants to basically preempt California's restrictions on car emissions. You know, how do you feel about all that? Are you part of the resistance to the Trump administration? And do you think California's taking the right tack?
This is an issue of states' rights versus federal rights. What's referred to you or reserved to you in the Constitution for the federal government and versus the states. And every time you have Republicans in power, the Democrats say one thing. Every time it's the Democrats in power, Republicans say another thing. My job is to represent California and to advocate for California. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. Soon we're going to overtake Great Britain, be number 4 in the world, something like that. So I think it's important that, you know, California have a strong advocate for our rights. I'm also advocating for taxpayer equity, the way I used to do for Orange County and Sacramento. Now I'm saying we need more.
It's a big burden to carry, but with very limited success, I might
Well,
add.
I was the first person to move that needle in 30 years. We actually started moving it, Sacramento versus Orange County.
The idea that in Orange County, more money is sent to Sacramento than it gets back, and now you're saying you're going to try to do the same thing for California.
We need to do the same thing for California. Yeah. For every dollar we sent to the feds, we get back about 70 cents. Yeah. There's states in the Deep South that get like more than $1. So we got to figure it out. But you ask about states' rights versus federal rights. It's my job to advocate for California.
Yeah. So we've only got about 30 seconds. Overall, Do you get, you know, because we're going to be coming up in an election season here, what's the attitude of of your colleagues? Is there a sense that, hey, we as Democrats could take over again? Do you hear that from the Republicans? They want to be nice to you because they know the tide might turn? Or what's kind of the mood in Congress right now?
I believe that the voters are very smart. I believe that voters want us to get the job done, and they want balance in government.
So that you didn't answer the question, but
we're winning seats.
Okay,
we're winning seats.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Lou. This has been great. Thanks so much.
We'll talk some more. Thank you.
And thanks again to my guest, Congressman Lou Correa. You can watch the show and past shows by going to pbssocal.org or rickreiff.com. You can also catch our shows and our post-show open mic chatter on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by...
Each new community 5 Point brings to life represents a promise delivered. Great neighborhoods are more than just places to live, they are places to connect. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming.
Chapman University is a proud sponsor of Inside OC and community programming.